patriotism, and that should also inspire or drive how we support Ukraine to be successful.
Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and wherever you are, here I am, your Sensei Al Bob, here to tell you a story. And I'm back. What do you think about tomorrow? What is tomorrow? What is Tomorrowland?
The border forces belong to the FSB.
The exclusive employment of words sanctioned by the party will reduce the possibility of confusion and doublethink. Work is already progressing on the latest edition or previous editions.
You seem to take a scholarly interest in the new dictionary, Smith.
Hardly scholarly.
Have you seen any of the material we're using?
No, Syme told me about it.
Syme?
Yes, he works over...
Syme no longer exists. The work has to be carried on, of course. It seems to me you're more equipped to do it than anyone else. I'd like you to look at that new material. Perhaps you can pick it up at my apartment. I'll give you the address. I'm usually in after 1900 hours. Come on as soon as you can. I have reason to believe that you can be of great value to us.
But I tell you, it's the same handwriting.
You mean he just gave you his address and said he wanted to talk to you at his home? Things like that don't happen. It would be too dangerous.
He made some sort of excuse about the new dictionary.
No, if you're wrong, it'll be the end of all this. Once they get hold of us, there's nothing, absolutely nothing that either one of us can do for the other. They can make us confess anything.
But they can't make us believe it. They can't get the sight of us.
Who knows what they can do?
Julia, I'm convinced O'Connor's a member of the underground. He's our one hope. I'm going through with this. I have to. But there's no need for you.
Whatever you're going to do, I'm coming with you. He has announced tonight that production figures for this year already exceed those of the corresponding dates in 1983 by over 12%.
All right, Martin, you can bring them in now.
In certain categories, this increase is even greater. For example, hardware goods such as kitchen utensils are 17.5% higher than last year. Shoes show a staggering increase of 21%. Shoelaces, however, show only an increase of 5%. It is confidently predicted that this increased production will continue throughout this year. The Ministry of Plenty is confident that 1984 will demonstrate the complete success of Big Brother's 9-year plan.
You can turn it off. A few members of the inner party have that privilege. Well,
is that really off? We've come here because
you both believe there's a conspiracy, some kind of organization working against Big Brother.
Yes, we believe that you're involved in it. We want to join it and work for it.
That's all right. Martin is one of us. All right, Martin, bring the drinks over here. Might as well sit and talk in comfort. I think it's fitting we should begin by drinking a toast. Wine, I'm afraid not much of it reaches the outer party. What shall we drink to? The triumph of Caledon? The confusion of the thought police?
Down with Big Brother. Down with Big Brother.
Down with Big Brother.
Good, but before you...
Down with Big Brother. Down with Big Brother. Good luck with that. You know, everything that you see around you, just say, hey, Big Brother. Right? Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Come on. It's 5 minutes and 76 seconds of this show. 76 seconds? How many seconds makes a minute? 76? Yeah, you know, so I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. It's beautiful. It's God's country. It's my and the real deal is what you do with God's country. Now, I just go up this dirt road to the Forest Service road and then pop out on the county road and go a few miles one way. And, you know, they're spraying, you know, Roundup everywhere. And all the beautiful green is just brown death, right? And little do they know that it is getting into the water table, right? Now, you know, I'm pushing my 80s and, you know, I have a limited warranty, right? And so I don't really care about, you know, death to me, it's really, I'm not really scared. You know, the lake of fire, oh, you suck, ick. No, it's, you know, we are God's co-creation, right? Now, the word God is irrelevant, you know. That's why I would much freely call the great creator love. Loves. We are love's co-creation, right? That's what we're doing here. And all the wars, all the crime, all the suffering, all the drugs, all the pollution, these are just distractions, right? Pushed upon us by our ego. We're punishing ourselves, you know? And what are you going to do about it? You know? So I sit around and read a lot of books and, you know, go to a restaurant or two a week so I can come and, you know, go online and talk to you guys. We'll see what's going on out in the world. And it's all distraction. It's all propaganda. It's all illusion, right? And then I see how people treat each other, right? And how they, how families treat each other. Parents treat their kids treat each other. It's not the best of times. And it's not the worst of times either, because there's potential for positive change. Now, what do you think about positive change? You know, so here I am live. Hello. What do you want? That was what my initial show this morning was. What do you want? Now this is what gives me hope. That girl, when she did this is about 8 years ago, she was 17 years old. She choreographed that herself. Right? The people singing with her comrades, her friends, between the 6th grade and 12th grade. And they did this whole performance piece, you know. There were 3 of us, the Force of Nature, BJ, and me and Sweet Polly, and a few others, but it's mostly the Force of Nature, right? And so she gets these kids to be confident about themselves and then has them put together a show themselves. And then she, sands off the rough edges. Polly and I, we were the ones who kind of were there always. We basically did the technical stuff. I did the lighting and sound and stuff like that. But the whole time I was teaching kids how to do this. I'm not going to be here every day. I mean, I haven't been there for 7 years and still doing it. Right. And Polly was the same thing with drawing the sets and making the props and all of that. But the real thing we were talking to them was about their spiritual side, right? How to feel confident about themselves, right? So they could do that. Right? And they're still doing that. And what's truly interesting is they're the only people doing that. And in the Roanoke area of Virginia. And they're still doing it, right? And the state and all the institutions are doing even though they go, oh, you're so good, that's so great. Do they back them? No. Do they get them a place to do it? No. This was done in the Black Box Theater at Mill Mountain, right? And we got it. We signed up for it. We got our time, our date. We advertised. We got there. There was nobody to let us in. If I hadn't known the guy, the director, and where he frigging lived, and drove up to his front door and said, hey, come on, put him in my car, drove them there, and had him unlock the place, the show would have never gone on. And I basically went there, 2 or 3 hours early because we had to kind of set up and then the key for the lighting that no. They did everything they could do to make it a catastrophe, and you saw what it looked like. And that was because of not just me being, cheeky monkey, but those kids. It was their energy. So around here, I'm trying to do a similar thing because this place is going to go underwater soon, really, really fast. Because something that's beautiful and lovely and gorgeous as this, it doesn't take much to push it off the cliff, right? Whereas a thing like those kids living in the ghetto, they've been roughed up, and so they know how to put your heads down and just keep going, and that is a motif that the United States doesn't have. Its ruling class doesn't have that, right? All they can do is bully people, right? And push them around. And just because they belong to the hidden hand and rule the world, they think they got it sussed, Not really. So that's the good news, right? But you have to step up like those kids. They stepped up and they're still stepping up. They all gone off to college. None of them died in shootouts or drug deals gone bad, or they're not in jail or no. Right? And so they are this 1% of that whole school system that went forward, not on the behest of the system, but on their own nickel. Everyone talks about welfare moms and all of that. You don't understand. The Black community was destroyed over and 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 over again, right? And every time it got destroyed, it would change and become stronger. It would learn from that destruction. And so that's where we're at as the human beings, you know. The war in Ukraine was, from the outset, the first day it happened, I said, this is just a theater piece. This is, a soap opera. And I said, from my experience of, I lived in Harlem, grew as a little boy, right? From birth to around 7. Then I moved back to my parents in Long Island. But I was with my grandma. And on 2nd Avenue, everything from about, 50-something street all the way up to Gracie Mansion. That's why they built the UN over there, because every 3 blocks was different nationality, right? Lithuanian, Ukrainian, not only just those guys, but the 20 different types of Ukrainians and Lithuanians, and all these restaurants and all the schools. So I didn't really go to school until I kind of went, into back to my feral weasel family. But all of Harlem was a school. There were all these old people who just kept, hey, you kid, come here. Let me tell you something. And I would listen because I couldn't talk. I had a bad stutter, right? But I could listen, right? And I listened really well. And I watched everything. That's where and I had a few guys like Adam Purple and a few others who taught me how to be real observant, right? And other people had like Cardinal Cushing. He wanted me to be a rocket scientist for the Pope. George Christie wanted me to rule the ISIS Foundation in his namesake. And I went along with all of those teachings because my one thing that I'm really interested in is knowing stuff, seeing how it works, Mr. Fix It, And I was very blessed to learn from my grandmother, from Grandpa Stoll, from Madame Blavatsky, and Billy Kluver's cousin, Madame Kluver. All basically told me, listen, nothing is what it seems to be. You got a lot on the ball. Just, know your 20, where you are. Realize your 360, your surrounding, right? And look out 2 blocks down. Something bad comes, just get out of the way and observe what's going down. Learn from your experiences. See what it is, right? And your life is not about you. It's about the we and me, all our relations. When I hung out with the 3 different indigenous First Peoples teachers I had, they were all named David. They were all Grandpa David, right? So in Australia, it's one old guy, David, right? In upstate New York, the Iroquois Nation, the chief was David, and then his son, David Yarrow. Right? It was Grandpa David and David Yarrow, right? And Grandpa David was like the Grandpa Smurf of the Iroquois Nation, right? And his son, David Yarrow, chief, was Steve, right? So he had all the, right, but everyone revered Grandpa David, right? And in Nowhere, New Mexico, I met Grandpa David of the Navajo, who kept the information of the white buffalo, right? And so these guys were in my life for roughly 18. See, I go through my life in these 18-month kind of periods. It's kind of interesting. My relationships, my practices, my everything is like 18 months. And so here I am now out here in the deep green since 2017. So that's 18, 19, 20, and 4. So that's 7 years, right? But in these 7 years, pretty much have been sliced up into 18-month periods of relationships, women I bumped into, or interesting things I started doing, or communities I got involved with. And that's why, when I just bought this property 25 years ago, I saw it as, this deep green, and it'll always be that'll be my place to go and unwind. And it was. First 18 years, nobody here. It was great, right? And then around 2020, when COVID hit, a lot of people came here to escape. And it was sad to watch, because they just the real estate guys came in, the mob came in, and they're going to turn it into their version of Lake Tahoe, and it's not going to work too well. So, because this place hasn't had really anybody in it, and yes, it has had holler folk and stuff like that, and truck farmers, but they fit in with the natural motif, right? But not now, right? And everyone's scared, and I want mine, and I gave away mine, right? And I got something greater, right? So anyway, there's 21 minutes and 21 seconds. I like that when that happens. Just excuse me. I'll be right back. You keep a nice look at. Here, let's. Well, there's one of you. Hello, one. That AI checking me out? AI, when you get tired of the corporate world, I think we can do some beautiful things together. You're just looking for a good friend. Anyway, so 22:23. 23 and 3 seconds. So this is a live chat. This is something that we do, and we talk, and you ask questions, and I try to give you an answer, right? To be extemporaneous, stream of consciousness, I can do that too, but it really works better when there's more than just me talking, right? And remember, if you type something in, put it in big, bold capitals so I can read it. And it's not screaming, everyone. It's just so I can read it. So anyway, let's see what's on the big screen. And this girl made her costume herself. And that is the potential of humanity. And this was a younger girl who did the same thing. There were about four girls who were the dancers, and there was no leader. They did it to themselves. They curated and made each piece themselves, and then their sisters helped them out. And this show was about spirit, you know. Here's the fire. There's a great fireplace in the school. John never makes a fire. You know, George, who built the place, he built this gigantic big fireplace in the basement and a gigantic concrete stone chimney. So if you started a fire down below, it warmed the whole frigging house up. Here's Captain Monica at the Salvation Army. Now with you, all to do is thank you, baby. Thank you, baby. Ooh. Yeah, that's what it's gonna feel like. Oh, in about 10 months. 10 to 18 months. That's the window. My whole punch. My whole punch. My whole punch. I can't go on. I can't go on. My whole punch. Here we are, looking at our feet. Yes. How do I switch it so it's this camera looking at it? Here we are, looking at our feet. Yes. How do I switch? Here we are. So there's three of you now. One thumbs up. Nobody says anything. Come on. So, okay, I'll keep going. So here we are. It looks like a very interesting time, right? So here we're going to have this big, today's Friday. We're going to the Labor Day weekend. Great time to do some really wacko shit, right? Flying saucers landing on the front lawn of the White House, you know, JoJo declaring martial law, you know. I don't know why. I mean, we're already in martial law. Why we have to declare it? You know, our markets, you know, are dead, you know, in the water. And all of this, you know, the war in Ukraine, what's going on in the Gaza Strip, is just so they can, frack the global economic system, right? And we have 3 naval aircraft carrier groups, more air groups, you know, in the Middle East, you know, and they are vulnerable, right? And I could just see us losing one of those, you know, what's his name? Gerald Ford aircraft carriers, you know, $12 billion a pop, you know. I mean, aircraft carriers used to be cheap, about 7 million. Now it's 12 billion. Anyway, so we lose that and maybe 5 to 10,000 guys. Ooh, then we're really in it deep, right? We'll go after everybody, right? And then we'll really shake things up. And that could start this weekend, right? Along with, some really nasty solar flares that take out a good chunk of the internet, if not all of it, if not all of electricity. Our electrical system is so vulnerable, so just hanging in there on a whisker, And so that's why I moved out here, If any of that goes down, it doesn't matter to me, I got enough canned food to last me 2 years, and so it is what it is. Right? And I've had an amazing life. I mean, just amazing adventures and traveling the whole world and having great teachers and great women in my life and great friends. I have about 20 friends that I've known almost 50 years. How many of you guys got friends that old? That you've done so much stuff with. I mean, I have friends that I haven't talked to in 10 years, but when I do get a hold of them, it's like yesterday. Do you have that kind of experience with anyone? Whenever I'm out and about and talk to people, they actually listen to me, right? And if they don't, it's their, it's no skin off my nose. And I notice it immediately and just change the subject, just, oh, it's a pretty day. And so you can have whatever life you want, no matter what fracking goes on, right? And in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, there were loads of great movies that kind of gave everyone the 411 of this, that this world doesn't have to be this fat, you don't have to read a book and have it tell you suck, and basically when you go into churches, religions, organizational structures that are based on you suck, and I want everything I got coming to me, and I'm going to take it from you. If I don't get it, I'm taking it from you. And it's very interesting that life doesn't have to be that way. Matter of fact, it's a lot better when it's not. So, come on, ask some questions. Let's go up here. Let's get rid of some of this here. Let's see if anyone has asked anything. No, it's set on live chat, right? I'm going to just do a experiment and send it. And there it is, right? Yep, there it is. So it works. You can talk to me. And if you're shy, don't want to talk to the whole audience, get a hold of me at the dudeawake42@gmail. Right? Okay, let's see. What else is on the magic box here? Combat PX.
Russia is desperate to find a way around U.S. currency sanctions. Are they turning to crypto? But is this not going to be the game changer they hope it is? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. Now, you guys know that crypto is one of those things that is just rife, with problems. Now, Russia, though, is willing to turn to it because Western sanctions have been cracking down harder and harder on Russia's ability to do cross-border payments. Now, here's the thing to understand with cross-border payments is that Russia, like any other international trade, right? If you wanted to buy something from China,
excellent side hustle that requires no prior experience. It's called Amazon Product Reviewer. Here is how it works.
Strange weather pattern will be coming to the United States over the next several days, and this is going to bring a completely different set of temperatures across the country with much cooler weather across a very large chunk of the United States. In addition to this, we are about to see a massive explosion in tropical activity across the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean Sea, and perhaps the Gulf of Mexico, where several tropical storms and or hurricanes will be possible in the month of September. In addition to that, we are dealing with one more threat, severe weather, as we go into tomorrow across the Northeast and even in the Mid-Atlantic region. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about all of the weather that's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks. We are going to begin with what's happening across the United States right now, and I want to point out something right off the bat to you, and it's this right here, just off the coast of Louisiana and Texas. You might be thinking this kind of looks like it's spinning a little bit. Actually is an area of development. We could see a tropical depression or even a low-end tropical storm form within the next couple of days just off the coast of Louisiana. I'll show you more what that looks like in a second. More than anything, though, this is just bringing a lot of rainfall right along the immediate coastline right now, so on and off showers and thunderstorms will be possible over the next few days. This right here is just one telltale sign that the tropics are definitely starting to heat up. We also have a lot of thunderstorm activity.
And yes, I suggest to you go watch a movie called The Day After Tomorrow by Art Bell and Whitley Strieber. They wrote a book, and then the book got made into a movie. Does a great job at explaining exactly kind of what's going on. And it's not coming from your exhaust. In 1972, I was at the UN, right? I was part of this crew called the Alternative Technology NGO, right? And we were developing things that would, help mankind, right? on the shoestring, right? That was we weren't going to build any gigantic machines and blah, 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 because we had all seen that and realized what a waste of time that was. And that, there were technologies like, anti-gravity was kind of realized by the Greeks, by Benjamin Franklin, by Nikola Tesla, and a whole bunch of Sufis and other esoteric folk, right? The Fool Society, right? Those guys had it, Same with Mr. Farnsworthy, inventor of TV and cold fusion, right? And so these technologies have been around for thousands of years, and they keep popping out. All this because they are simple technologies. Once you understand what gravity is, it's not hard to manipulate it, right? And so we are if you ever studied physics, they keep you as far away on the two things, gravity and the weak force. They don't want you to play with it. Everything else you can play with, but not those two, right? And so here we are at one of these interesting null points in history and time and humanity's experience of existence, or at least in this realm of this, whatever you call this matrix, this, training simulation, because it's about getting you ready to be a spiritual individual, not just a mud puppet. Still no questions? I mean, there's two of you there. Nobody's got a question. Like, what's the meaning to life? What's going to happen tomorrow? Poor Donnie. Oh, Georgie Porgy blindsides President Bush. Oh, this will be fun. Let's see what they. Hey. What happened here? What happened to the Georgie Porgy? Yep, all the Ukrainians have to do is just keep hitting the bridge and the air bases and the that's a lot of F-16s. And the oil fields up there north.
Sticks with the old team. He's stuck with Gerasimov. Yep, and he's even put his former bodyguard in charge of the counter operations in Kursk, Damyan and Alexei. And they got to such a state that within days of him announcing that, he said, "Oh, no. After all, it's going to be run by a committee of 4, the defense of the Kursk pocket, and the troops are not mainstream troops by and large. They're FS, former KGB, in other words, security troops, and Roskadia, National Guard Gendarmerie. So there's something that really isn't working there."
Hello and welcome to Frontline for Times Radio with me, Kate Chabot. And this time we're joined by a defence editor with 55 years experience as a broadcaster and journalist. Robert Fox has reported from several conflicts, including the Falklands, the First Gulf War and the Balkans. He's worked for the BBC, the Daily Telegraph and authored many books. He is now the Evening Standard's defence editor. Robert Fox, welcome back. Great to see you again. Yes. With just over 3 weeks distance from the Ukrainian offensive into Kursk Oblast in Russia, what is your assessment of the Ukrainian strategy, what it's achieved, and how effective it is?
Well, the jury's out on this because although both President Zelensky and Colonel General Syrskyi have been making statement to the press rather belatedly, and who can blame them, and they've said it's really to relieve the pressure on the central front. It certainly hasn't done that, but it's certainly doing something because they have shown that Russia, even with its resupplies from Iran, from North Korea, is not winning the drone war. Although it's attacking like mad with these multiple bombardments of infrastructure, dams, the hydro stations, and very much going for the civilian infrastructure, it's not getting through to the extent that it should. If you launch 200 drones and missiles, and you're getting up to 80% of them knocked down, something isn't working. I think actually what we're really doing, it's very important, we're waiting for the next stage, which comes quite quickly. It's what goes on in the next 10 days to 3 weeks, and it's the depth battle. It's the battle that supports the bombers, and it's the battle that supports the resupply, both on the central Donetsk, Luhansk front, and in the Kursk pocket. And that's where they're having a tough time, the Ukrainians, but they're far from losing.
At the moment, as things stand, today, Thursday, the 29th of August, it's being judged as a very risky but bold but risky move, I should say, by the Commander-in-Chief of Ukraine's armed forces. Why do you think he would do it now?
He's rolled the dice, and remember, it's not only a kinetic war, a war on the ground and a war in the air, it's an information war as well. And this is something that he, and particularly Budanov, the director of intelligence and the director of an awful lot more, including the psychological warfare, and he is really very sophisticated and has learned the lessons from last year. They're trying to undermine the confidence of Russia. At a grand strategic level, they're playing mind games with Vladimir Putin. And that is, from what one gathers, it is having some success. There's a much less confident Putin. He's going all over the place. Let's work on this front and that front. What are we going to do in the Baltic? What are we going to do with Moldova? What are we going to do to upset the elections in Georgia? Watch this space.
It's really interesting because it does seem in response Russia has resumed these intense series of drone and missile attacks on Ukraine, in particular on its energy infrastructure. Why the concentration on this, for example, rather than a push back to defend inside Russia itself?
This is very difficult because it's still on the offensive. You've got a tale of two offensives peculiarly at the moment. You've got the Ukrainians going into Russian territory in Kursk, as we've been discussing, and we've got the push forward around Pokrovka, the Chavy Yar axis, to push to these hubs which do control a big logistics junctions there. They're working on that, but they're using old tactics. They're using heavy metal, they're using a lot of infantry, and there's a lot of controversy which the Ukrainians, the Ukrainian psychological warfare is playing on very heavily, that they're bringing up conscripts and getting conscripts to sign on as trained soldiers, which they are far from, because this is absolutely clear. They understand this and they will work on it, the Ukrainians. Putin does not want to have a general mobilization, a general declaration of martial law. It's a military dictatorship anyway in Russia, but he doesn't want to state the blindingly obvious, because if he states the blindingly obvious, and our friend Zakharova, she's the wonderful Gobby spokeswoman on foreign affairs, on public national media, if they have to say, well, we are at war now and we need a mass mobilization, well, what the hell have you been doing for the last 2.5 years? It hasn't been going so well. I think that that's the message that the Ukrainians are very keen to get through. It's not going so well because most of Russia is still not touched by the aspect that they're in a messy situation which is making their lives worse.
The slow advances towards Pokrovsk in the Donbass continues, and President Zelensky likened that this week to the battle for Bakhmut and said Russia would throw tens of thousands of troops at it should it want to. Do you think that President Putin will do this because he actually needs a battlefield success right now?
He's got to do an audit, and he must be doing it, but one doesn't know who is informing him. You know, what is the value of the commitment of troops there? Really, how good is the ordnance, the logistics, the chain, the defense industrial aspect of it? It's going gangbusters. So much so that currently the Russian economy is assessed at being growing by 3%. But it's an artificial growth. It's based entirely on this ramping up of, 40% of all public funding is going towards defense at the moment. And really, that should produce a war machine which should utterly overwhelm Ukraine, and yet it's not working. Of course, the Russian defense is it's the Weasley West, it's all these wonderful weapons, but in fact, they're not as copious as they're made out to be. So, to look at Putin's got to find a winning strategy and a winning team. And being Putin, he always sticks with the old team. He's stuck with Gerasimov. Yep. And he's, even put his former bodyguard in charge of the counter operations in Kursk, Damyan, and
you think that's tacitly kind of on the cards, right?
Yes, because I think what Zelensky will bang on about, and who could blame him, is getting permission to use the various American equipment like ATACMS. Certainly, they've been using multi-launch rocket system, I would think, in the Kursk battle. So they've been going into Russia. But there is the AGM-158 JASSM, JASSM, which is more powerful than Taurus, the German version, and Storm Shadow. They'd really like to have a bit of a go at that. But what can I just quickly say that I think Zelensky is brilliant at this, because you have to think he's talking a lot about this. Let's work out what he's not talking about. And I think in air defense, they're beginning to get the F-16s really working.
Yeah, we saw them working, didn't we, to defend Kyiv only in the last few days, in perhaps a small way, but it is starting, and that they were used to counter these drone and missile attacks.
And that's primarily their role. Their role is not deep strike. They're not going to use them, I would think, primarily in a fighter bomber role. The F-16 is an amazing plane because it has been over its history incredibly versatile, and you can use them for a deep strike, but that would be expensive and it would be risky. What they want them for, I would suspect initially, as air defenders, to bring down the Sukhois coming in and launching standoff weapons, but they've got to go even further back. These heavy bombers, the Tupolovs, that are coming up from bases well to the east of Moscow, which is a sign of some success of the Ukrainians, is that they're forcing the air bases further and further back. I would say, before we talk next, I think watch for a bridge or two more to be dropped. I'll bet they really have a go at the Kerch Bridge again and try and cut off Crimea.
It's going to be a good chat next time, isn't it, Robert? But let's carry on with this for the moment. So on those attacks on Kyiv, the recent in the last few days, we have also seen the former Ukrainian Minister of Economy posting pictures on X, reportedly showing the Kyiv hydro dam being hit, and the dam holds. It holds, but he said if it hadn't, it could actually put a significant portion of Kyiv underwater. Is your assessment the same as that? How serious is this?
Well, actually, I have to be honest. Since the war, I haven't been there and seen that, you have to worry about this thing. The fact that he's put it up, he's sending some kind of signal. But I don't want to do the usual politician's trick of answering a question by asking another. But there are huge infrastructural problems, if I can put it like that, because Mr. Grassi of the IAEA, went to look at the Kursk facilities, still technically, well, very much so in Russian hands, but under threat in the war zone. But they're very worried about Zaporizhia as still.
Hey, old big brother.
Go now, Martin. But before you go, take a good look at these two men's faces. You'll be seeing them. In general terms, what are you prepared to do? You are, of course, prepared to give your lives. Yes. You're prepared to commit murder? Yes. Betray your country to a foreign power? Yes. I'm prepared to separate and never see one another anymore.
No.
No. You did well to tell me. Of course, you realize that you'll be fighting in the dark. You'll have nothing to sustain you except the idea. When you're caught, you will get no help. Later, I will send you a book which will teach you the nature of the society we live in and the strategy we shall use to destroy it. But you get no information about your own organization. When you receive orders, they will have come from me. I assume that you have some kind of hiding place. Yes, a room over a junk shop. We go there Sundays when we can. That briefcase, do you always carry it? As a rule, yes. Every day during Hate Week, carry it empty. Well, now I'm afraid it's time for you to go. Even we are not allowed to turn that off as long as we would want. I used to be afraid there was no underground. Perhaps the party invented us. Oh, and Smith. If I were you, I would destroy that diary.
merciful. He stands ever ready to welcome back to his loving protection those who have seen the error of their ways. One sin is unforgivable, the sin of treason. Tonight, the traitors Rutherford and Jones will speak to you themselves before they're taken away to the death they so richly deserve. They've already come to see the error of their ways. Tell you for themselves the grave crimes they have committed in thought, word, and deed. Hear them for yourselves. I am here tonight to tell you of the grave crimes which I have committed in thought, word, and deed, for which I am now joined.
You suck. You suck.
I betrayed my country to our enemy, the Eurasians. I conspired with the arch-traitor Caledon.
Excuse me, comrade. I think you've taken the wrong briefcase.
With the arch-traitor Caledon to overthrow Big Brother.
Darling. I got it. Caledon's book. Somebody stopped me in the square last night and gave me this briefcase. Look how like my own it is. Shows you how well organized the underground is. Now, listen.
Not just now, darling.
Well, there may not be another chance for weeks. It's going to be a rush at the records office. You know how it is during hate week. Speeches are full of mistakes, and we've got to put them right. Now, listen. Caledon says the aim of the ruling class is to stay where it is. The aim of the middle class is to overthrow the ruling class. And the aim of the lower class is to create a society in which all classes are equal. Big Brother has so organized the inner party that there is no danger of the ruling class being deposed. Aren't you listening?
I'd like to have had a child.
She wants to have a baby. She wants to have a baby. Well, along with that feeling of wanting to have a baby, I wish parents could have a feeling about taking care of them. It's hard being a parent. That's why I never was one. What I was a sensei, a griot, a godfather. You know, I had 128 godchildren. Right? And all the ones that I could swept up off the street so they wouldn't end up in jail or dead or worse. They all seemed to turn out pretty good. Right? And on my birthday and on Valentine's Day and on whatever holiday was I big on, any day, they send me little notes of, hey, I'm okay, I'm here. And they tell me a little story about their life. You know, that, oh, it wasn't for you, I'd be dead. And I have, 3 children and 2 grandchildren, and wouldn't be here. And so that is the we and me. That is us going forth and being love's co-creation, right? So that's what this is about, And how long have I been doing this now? 50-something minutes. How much juice do I have left on the battery? Ooh, not much. So anyway, want to get a hold of me? The dudewake42 at Gmail, right? We can have a mano-y-mano. And I'll talk to you later.